Greetings and salutations, gamers. My name is Kyle, also known as Gamers Weekend, and welcome back to a series of brand new Dark Souls challenges. I'm going to be doing a ton of different Dark Souls challenges in the future just because I absolutely love this game and I want to show off just how far you can push its limits. So, I've decided to start with what I would consider to be the easiest of the challenges, which is the Sorcery only challenge. So let's get right into it. First, let's go over the rules, and the rules are pretty simple. My only form of damage from the beginning of the game to the finish can be sorcery. This means no melee weapons, miracles, or pyromancies are allowed. But as far as shields, rings, armor, or what kind of sorceries I choose to use, anything really goes. And of course, no glitches are going to be allowed for this challenge because we're doing a legit challenge here, not sort of, ooh, let's glitch our way through the game. The main goal is to beat the game, but just for fun, I'm gonna try and beat every single boss. With that out of the way, this is the Dark Souls Sorcery Only Challenge. So the Asylum is pretty straightforward. Just run past the demon, grab a shield, and for this run I have to ignore the dagger just so I don't instinctively use it. I grab my catalyst, and with that I take out the Asylum demon and move on. The first levels I have immediately go into Intelligence. Intelligence is the main stat we will be focusing for two obvious reasons. One, it's going to let us cast higher level spells, and two, our catalyst scales with Intelligence, so our spell damage will increase as we level it up. Now, I could probably kill Taurus with my lonely 30 soul arrows, but I would rather have some better gear before going after the first couple of bosses. So I grab a soul from Anor Londo and a soul from Valley and buy some more soul arrows from Rickert in Anor Londo. After that, I go through the Valley of Drakes, pick up a soul on the way, and get my first bonfire. I quickly backtrack to grab the red tear stone as well, and then homeward bone to avoid whatever that mess is. I don't plan on using the red tearstone ring because frankly I don't think I'll need it, but I figured why not grab it. I grab the grass crest shield, light the Undead Parish bonfire, and then through the church. I grab the Firekeeper soul, send the elevator down to Firelink, and grab the key to the lower burg, which I figured I might as well grab on the way so I can unlock the lower burg. Under the bridge, things are kind of dicey and my arrows are so weak at this point it takes two of them just to kill a normal rat. Either way, we make it through and light the Burg bonfire after kicking the ladder shortcut. Here's a fun fact for you. The Hellkite dragon won't show up on top of the bridge if you don't see him through the Burg entrance. Pretty cool, right? So at least I'm not going to be a charred corpse as I try to unlock the lower Undead Burg. Here's a fun strategy for you. You can run behind this flame right here next to the stairs and the dogs will run right into it, killing them. It saves you a little bit of hassle, especially for me since, you know, it's kind of hard to kill dogs with soul arrows. Anyways, we're here to free a friend of ours and I forgot the key. Excuse me while I go and kill a merchant. Alright, now we can save Griggs. He's going to be our main source of magic until we find Big Hat Logan. With that, the beginning side route is pretty much done, so let's start killing some bosses. Taurus Demon should be pretty simple. Kill the archers on the landing above and then kite backwards across the bridge. If you know the spacing, you can avoid rolling and just use the extra time to soul arrow. Once you get to the end of the bridge, just roll past him and kite back the other way and voila, one boss down. From here, I want to go back to Firelink Shrine, but Parish Gate is closed and I don't feel like having to go around or making Kevin the Hellkite Dragon mad. So, I decided to go through the lower burg again. This way, I can open up the shortcut from Firelink to Capra Demon and the depths. Once back at Firelink, I used some souls I got along the way and grabbed Great Soul Arrow from Griggs and upgraded my Estus Flask with Anastasia, the Firekeeper. Next up is Gargoyles. I used some speedrun strats to get through the church and to the fight. Great Soul Arrows do some great damage here. You see what it did? Oh, okay, I'll see myself out. Dodge the first Gargoyle's attacks and cast the spells from behind him. When the second Gargoyle lands, we just wait for him to breathe fire and finish off the first Gargoyle. Every time he breathes fire, he stands still, which makes the fight a hell of a lot easier. Looks like RNGesus blessed me on this day because all the second Gargoyle did this fight was breathe fire, which made for a pretty easy fight on my end. Crossed another one off the list, and that is the first of 2 Bells of Awakening. We quickly head down to Griggs, grab Great Heavy Arrow, level up Attunement and Intelligence, and put on some new duds. I think we're pretty set for Capra Demon at this point. Capra Demon is possibly the most difficult fight in the early game. Not only is it pretty tight quarters, but the freaking dogs can rush you down before you can get a spell off. The best way to do this is to go up the stairs on the left and onto the archway to help you get some space in order to kill off the dogs. For me, one of the dogs actually died from the fall off the stairs, which I didn't even know was possible. Once the dogs are dead, the arrows pretty easily melt the Capra Demon. Next up is the depths. Using this pretty easy jump, we can get through the first room and then down and kill the giant rat. Now, I would slide down to open the shortcut, but I need to kill the channeler first or he's going to cause some huge problems during the Gaping Dragon. Now, if only I could get rid of the stupid giant rats and Okay, the channeler is dead. Time to slay a dragon. Back to the slip inside and into the boss fight. The strategy for Gaping Dragon here is no different from before. Just wait for him to get on all fours and then rush you. Then just unload some soul arrows into his backside. Rinse and repeat until desired results. Back to Griggs to pick up the Bellowing Dragon Crest Ring and then level up some of our stats. I'd love some more HP for this next section, so I decided to get the Fap Ring from Lord Trek. We're gonna need a lot of souls. We need to buy a ton of spells, get a ton of levels, and we need to do it as quickly as possible if we're gonna do some real damage with our build. With that in mind, I think it's time to head to the Catacombs. As many of you know, you can get to the bottom fairly quickly with this jump and this jump. Time to kill Pinwheel. Pinwheel, as always, is a joke of a fight. Use heavy soul arrows to destroy his health bar and use the tiny arrows to destroy his clones. No surprise though, he goes down pretty quickly. But we weren't here for Pinwheel, as nice as the 15,000 souls is. What we want is the coveted Silver Serpent's Ring. It's a short trek through the Tomb of the Giants and past a ton of enemies that could probably one-shot before we can claim our treasure and homeward back. Who likes leveling up? I know I sure do. With new ring in hand, I do believe it's time for Quelaag. Quelaag is pretty easy, but she does a ton of damage, so one mistake could probably get us one shot. The idea is to wait for her to spew lava at us and then cast her spells on her because she's taking a lot of time and is very vulnerable during that point. If she starts to swing her sword, then we can just run under her legs to the right and block the explosion attacks if we get caught. Quick tip, if you equip the Silver Serpent's Ring right after you kill the boss, you can still get the increased souls if you equip it fast enough. There's no need to wear it for the entire fight. That's Bell of Awakening 2 of 2. Now we could head right back to Firelink, but there's a free boss down here by the name of Ceaseless Discharge, and I want his souls. The fight is really simple. Grab the robes, let him splishy splash bathwater, and make sure he doesn't smack you. Then just bait him towards the door, he falls off, and that is another boss on the KO list. Just remember kids, intelligence comes from the souls of your dead enemies. The next areas on our list are Sen's Fortress and Anor Londo, but I'm not too confident in our damage at the moment, so let's try to get some upgrades going here. I make a quick run into Sen's Bounce House of Death so I can free Big Hat Logan. Typically, you need a boulder to smash this wall, but if you can bait the serpent into a stabbing attack while shielding up against it, it'll break the wall for you for some reason. Anyways, we free the Big Hat Logan, pick up a juicy Soul of a Hero, and GTFO. We head back to Firelink Shrine in order to talk to Big Hat Logan so we can pick up Soul Spear. The problem is we don't really have enough souls in order to pick it up, but by selling some extra humanities to Frampt, we can get the souls to purchase it. Unfortunately, we still don't have the intelligence level to use it. Thankfully, we can go to another area nearby to pick up the souls we need. We go up the parish elevator and call Velka the Crow on Uber, and we are on our way back to the Asylum. There's only a few things we have to do in the Asylum, and the first one we're going to go for is checking another boss off our list. Stray Demon goes like this. Drop down and roll to the side and he won't notice you. Use this opportunity to heal up, and then we can promptly hug his anus and tell him to turn his head and cough as we proceed to shove soul arrows where the sun does not shine. If he casts magic, then we can just back it up, and if he flies, just circle around him. After plenty of soul arrows, he finally goes down and rewards us with a lovely 24,000 souls. While we are here, we might as well pick up the peculiar doll for later. We take out Oscar, grab the rusted iron ring, and it's time to hit the old undead trail. With those souls, we are finally strong enough to cast Soul Spear. However, there's still one more piece of gear I would like to pick up from Darkroot Basin. I kill the Hydra, the Golem, and free Dusk of Ulasil. She's got two spells I'd like, those being Hidden Body and Cast Light. After talking to her, we go back to where the Golem was and we pick up her gear. The big thing here is her crown. It gives a very sizable buff to magic damage, but in exchange, it also makes us take more magic damage, so we have to kind of balance how we're going to use it. One more trip to Logan to grab more great soul arrows, and now we can replace all of our regular soul arrows with great ones, which means we get a pretty sizable buff in how much damage we can do. There's 2 more bosses I want to take out before we progress. Before we head into Darkroot, I quickly kill off Andre for the crest since I don't need any blacksmith upgrades. It's not like I have any weapons for him to upgrade in the first place. First on the list, Moonlight Butterfly. The strategy is typically roll out of the way of her spells and then counterattack, but at this point we're just way too powerful for her and kill her before she can even perform her first attack. Next up is the Doggo. Danger Doggo is a little more interesting. He's really laggy because of that big sword he's holding, and he's pretty mobile, which makes him surprisingly hard to hit. However, we do a ton of damage, so as long as our spells land, this fight can go by really quick. We can dodge his attacks by either going directly underneath him or by backing up, preferably forward because it's a little easier to land our spells that way. Eventually, we grind down his health bar, and that is all of the fights for the Darkroot area. I think we're pretty well prepared for the mid-game, so it's time for the Bounce House. It's a pretty quick and easy trek in order to get to the top, where I'm going to make a slight detour in order to pick up a rare Ring of Sacrifice. Now it's time for the Iron Golem. Iron Golem is pretty simple on a mage setup, especially with our damage. He's really slow and clunky, so it's easy to put distance between us and him and destroy him with soul spears. Time for Anor Londo. Getting through Anor Londo isn't actually much different with Sorcery. The rafters we can just snipe the Painting Guardians off, which makes it a lot easier to get through, and the Silver Knight Archer is still the same idea. Parry, but instead of a riposte, we use a soul spear. The only thing left in our way now are the Slam Jam Bros of Anor Londo. Typically, this fight is a nightmare, but we have some pretty great damage. Ornstein goes down just after 3 hits, and then it's a game of kite the giant Pikachu with a hammer, and the boss is done. I went ahead and killed Lady McBoobs so I could make Anor Londo dark and place the Lord Vessel to open up the endgame areas. The first of the areas I want to go to is the Duke's Archives, because that's where we will be getting a hold of the Crystal Sorceries, which will be a huge upgrade to our damage. I made sure to kill the Golem along the way to grab the Broken Pendant, and then it's time to go suicide into Seath. I was a little worried he might curse me, so that's why I made that detour for the rare Ring of Sacrifice from Sens. Now, it's impossible for him to curse us. So, fun predicament. You can't kill the snake guard outside your cell with magic. Just for some reason, the snake won't die because I guess the spells stop on the wall before they can hit the guard. So that's kinda awkward. Alright, here's the deal. I'm gonna invent a brand new spell called Smack Him with the Stick. There, now the guard is dead, we have a key, and we can get out of the cell. Once we've broken out of prison, we grab the key to save Logan, go back down into the prison, save Logan, get back out of the prison, and now we're almost done with the area. Let's talk about Logan for a second here. We need to complete his side quest in order to get his Catalyst, which is a huge upgrade in our damage. But in order to do that, we need to do 2 things. Kill Seath the Scaleless, and buy out his entire inventory. Thankfully, with the amount of boss souls we've collected, we can make up for most of the souls needed to buy out his inventory, but we're still about 40,000 short. We're also about 2 levels short of that lovely 50 intelligence that I would love to have at this point. So now armed with Crystal Soul Spears, the second strongest spell in the game, it's time to go grab some extra souls. We're gonna head back to Anor Londo pretty quickly. I kill the Firekeeper for her soul, and then down to Darkmoon Tomb to finish the Ladyboy Gwendolyn. The Gwendolyn fight is the same as always. We hide behind pillars for the swarm attack, roll through the giant death ball, and zigzag past the arrows. The only difference here is I'm wearing the Dust Crown, which means his magic attacks are going to one-shot me if he hits me. Thankfully, though, we have a ton of damage and kill him in just 3 hits. Back to Logan, and we can officially buy all of his spells. Now to finish his quest, all I need to do is kill Seath. Now I know I could have come back here with the strongest spell in the game and made this fight infinitely easier, but I still want this to be a little bit of a challenge before I start running around with a big nuclear sorcery. With our regular sorcery, we do pretty low damage to Seath. Not to mention he can curse us, which is an instant kill. So I decided it would probably be best if I took off the Dust Crown, since he does tons of magic damage and it would only make it worse. Our black leather armor also isn't the best suited this fight, so I decided to put on Dusk's clothes because they have pretty good magic defense and surprisingly good curse resistance. Fighting Seath is the same as always. Break his crystal and constantly change your range from him in order to avoid the dragon's breath. This fight goes pretty long, but eventually we grind down his health bar. That's 1 Lord Soul down, only 3 more to go. Now that Logan's gone mad, it's back up to the original Seath room to kill him in order to get the White Dragon spell, and then we can go back to where he was for his clothes and his catalyst. I put on his robes because now we are the greatest sorcerer in the land, so it's befitting that we wear them, and of course his catalyst is a pretty good upgrade in damage, so we go ahead and equip that as well. We also hit 50 intelligence here, so I say we're pretty set for Ulasil. The first challenge in our way is the Sanctuary Guardian, who I would actually consider to be one of the more difficult bosses in the game. It doesn't help right now that he can one-shot us, and that's with physical damage, so taking off the crown isn't really going to help us. Thankfully, we do some pretty good damage to this guy even through his decent magic resistance. It's a matter of finding open windows of opportunity in order to get as many spells as we can in. We have to be reactive this fight, not proactive, otherwise he's going to chain his moves together and one-shot us like there's no tomorrow. Eventually, we can get him down, and it's time for the garden. Okay, real talk? Screw the garden. The enemies here do obnoxious amount of damage, they're stupidly fast for some reason, and why is there so many of them? After God knows how many deaths, it's time for one of the cooler fights in the game, Artorias. Just like Sanctuary Guardian, he's fast, has a lot of combos, and can probably one-shot us. He also knows how to dodge roll, which makes landing spells tougher. Thankfully, our spells do a lot of damage to him, so we can take him out before he causes too many problems. Moving on to the township, there's no bosses in the area, but there's a few things I need to grab on my way. I can use Cast Light to grab the Silver Pendant, and I also want to grab the Crest Key so I can unlock the Calamite boss fight. Then we head down into the Chasm of the Abyss where I want to grab Dark Bead. There's no way I'm taking on the boss here because, let's be honest, he's the real final boss of the game, but might as well grab Dark Bead while I'm here. With some clever use of Hidden Body, I can take out the guys guarding the spell, and voila, I have access to literal nuclear sorcery. Now armed with Dark Bead, I think it's time to go boss hunting. First on the list is the Painted World for Priscilla. I meant to point blank her with Dark Bead, but I tried to set up some soul masses and that kinda screwed things up. It's alright. Her invisibility may be a little obnoxious, but it's not too hard to track her footsteps. Cross another boss off the list. We head back into the Tomb of the Giants in order to take on Nito. You just dodge the skeletons while you wait for him to get close, and then promptly finish him in just 3 Dark Beads. Make that 2 of the 4 needed Lord Souls. Now it's time to head to the spooky, scary Londo ruins for the 4 kings. The ruins themselves aren't that hard, and after clearing out the ghost house, we can drain out the water. Fun fact, the door to this boss fight is right next to the drain, so a short drop from there puts us right in the 4 kings fight. This fight is pretty much a DPS test. Can you kill the kings before more of them spawn? Needless to say, I'm definitely strong enough even through their magic resistance. I even whiffed a whole Dark Bead and I was still able to kill them quite easily. Make that 3 of the 4 Lord Souls. Time to head back down to the demonic ruins in order to finish up the bosses there. I've already killed Ceaseless, so it's time for Demon Fire Sage. It's pretty much the same thing as Stray Demon, except Fire Sage has much less HP. After that is Centipede Demon. I just lure him over to the right side and then use Dark Bead to destroy his arm, giving me the Charred Ring. That way I can run out on the lava and finish him off myself. After a decent walk, it's time for the bed of BS. The left side goes down first, and then we head to the right side. The reason we do it in this order is because the right side is actually a lot safer than the left, so it's better to go there second while the floor is collapsing. Then we can just head to the center and... What the hell was that? Well, she's not called the bed of BS for nothing, I guess. This time we actually make it into the center and kill off the bug. That officially makes 4 of 4 Lord Souls. Just 3 more bosses to go. After going to see Calamite, we kindly ask the most Chad of Chads, Mr. Goff, to shoot down the dragon so we can finish him off. Calamite is pretty tanky, but his attacks are pretty easy to avoid, leaving a lot of open windows for us to take him out. It takes a lot of spell casts, but eventually we do take him down. And with that, it's time for the hardest fight by far this run, Manus. Manus does a ton of damage, has combos that can destroy your health bar immediately if you get caught in them, and his magic is unbelievably strong. Even with the crown taken off, they are still easily enough to one-shot you. You have to be extremely quick to react to some of his spells with the silver pendant, or you're pretty much dead on the spot. He's also resistant to all dark sorceries, so our dark bead won't do very much, unlike the other bosses. The key is to wait for the attacks that have a long recovery time for him, and to attack him then. Also, make sure you are hovering the silver pendant the entire time instead of Estus, so you can react to the magic faster. It took me a couple tries, but eventually, with only sorcery, the Father of the Abyss eats the dust. With Manus falling, that makes every optional boss on our list KO'd. Just one more boss left for the challenge. We head down to the Firelink altar to deposit our Lord's souls, and head into the Kiln of the First Flame to take on Gwyn. He may be fast, but he's light on his feet. A full dark bead causes him to stagger. I did manage to whiff most of a dark bead, but just after 3 dark beads and a crystal soul spear, Gwyn is down for the count. And with that, we have officially beaten every single boss in Dark Souls using sorcery. I'm honestly not that surprised that I was able to beat the game with sorcery only, because there's a lot of different sorceries, they do a lot of damage, and there's not a lot of bosses that have a ton of magic resistance, and even those that do have magic resistance, you can kind of just slowly grind away, so it's not that really hard of a challenge. Either way, that is the sorcery challenge out of the way, so logically, we're going to be moving on to miracles only and pyromancy only challenges. After that, we will see what is to come, but I've got a lot of things in the works. In the meantime, if you have a Dark Souls challenge you would like to see me complete, please do leave it in the comment section below. I am very happy to take suggestions, and I'm really interested to see what you guys can come up with. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up, bop that subscribe button, and ring-a-tingling that little bell to be notified whenever I drop another video. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. Later!